This was about to be the most fun episode of the season. So close. Inning away from heading into the All-Star break with a sweep of the Astros and with a couple of really big series against the Red Sox coming up and erasing a lot of that bad feel that there's been as we now sit 89 games through the season. So close. Just before that, they were 3 outs away from sweeping the Astros. The night before, Gerrit Cole, who we had spoke about a couple episodes ago, was really not looking so good, trending in the wrong direction. He completely shut that down and more. But the Yankees, yet again, as they've done all year long, they can't get the sweep. And this goes well beyond it. Like, this loss is so much more than that, but it's part of it. 3-9 when they try to get the sweep, mostly on the road. That day game thing, while I admit it's a weird stat, but that increases as the Yankees go 2-0 at night in the series and 0-1 on the road. That getaway game thing where All-Star break, but this is, again, that's the small part of it, while at the same time it's still important. This was a gut punch to this team that, again, this was about to be an episode of really about as happy as we've been all year. And again, it is Jose Altuve. Jose Altuve, as he did earlier in the season, off of Chad Green. That was a game-winning 3-run homer, which at the time I was upset, and no one made a big deal about it by the fact that Gerrit Cole did not pitch that 8th inning. This is a completely different argument for today, but I was very upset speaking about it. And it really wasn't Michael K. No one made a big deal about it, I remember. And it's just funny how, yet again, Chad Green in the 9th inning, Yankees had a 5-run lead. And Altuve, walk-off homer. Another interesting stat. There have only been 2 losses all year for teams that led by at least 4 going to the 9th inning. Both of those 2 losses, you guessed it, the New York Yankees. Against the Angels a couple weeks ago when Chapman imploded in that rain-delayed game where Jared Walsh hit the grand slam, and then this past game here against the Astros. The Astros had done nothing for the first 26 innings of this series. They scored 2 runs. They were shut out the first 2 games and scored 2 runs in the first 8 games, in the first 8 innings of this one. Done nothing. Completely exploded in the last inning. Just unbelievable. This was about to be, like, I'm always recording, of course, on the last games of the series, and the Yankees are horrible in the last games of the series. They are, I think, the 3rd worst team in the last games of series. I think with the Pirates and some other shitty fucking team, I'm sure. That's the problem. Like, if this had been game 1, would it have hurt? Oh, absolutely. This is a terrible loss. But it would have been different. But it's just, what a bad way to go to the All-Star break when they were really starting to finally hit that stride to a degree. Again, I think this offense still has major issues. They had 14 walks in the last game. 14! And they only scored 7 runs. 3 for 16 runners in scoring position. So while you got to hold on to a 5-run lead, they should have been up by way more than that. This shouldn't have even been a game. This should have been an easy sweep. Once we got to game 3 and what happened in it. So we're going to dissect that heavily. But Chad Green, just a terrible, terrible job. And you can't trust Chapman right now. Jonathan Loaisiga goes down on the COVID IL. He pitched the first game of the series and was fantastic. Jonathan Loaisiga has been the best reliever all season long, consistency and everything else on this team all year. And that was huge, as it turns out that he was out. While I'm at it, of note, Miguel Andujar also placed on the IL with, I think, a wrist injury. I think he's had wrist issues previously. I think that might have been why he was out to start the season. So he's on the shelf for a bit. And so they brought up Albert Abreu and Brooks Kriske. That's irrelevant to the situation again. But, yeah, let's just dive right into this. But this was a gut punch against Houston of all teams, against Altuve of all people, and just sort of the shenanigans that were going on between the Yankees and the Astros with the whole jersey pull thing and everything. It was just ends up the Astros get the last laugh. It's funny. The Yankees win both series against Houston, 4-2, right? You look at that. Oh, great. But it felt like they lost both series after each one was done. And it's this is actually the perfect way to end this first half. It's a microcosm of the Yankee season. You're ready for them to kind of go on this run. No, not to be. So game one, Nestor Cortes. Nestor Cortes has been amazing. And that only continued in this one as he would pitch 4 2/3 of shutout ball. It's unfortunate he wasn't able to, he was 1 out away from the win, couldn't get it. He went up against Diego Odorizzi. In this one, Luke Voit was not in the lineup. He had gotten hit by a pitch the day before. He could have, I mean, it made sense. I had no issue with it. So Odor was in the lineup. And surprisingly, now at this point, Odor was still on the roster, but he'd already been hurt. But I was kind of surprised they went with Tyler Wade in left field over Locastro. Again, not great options either way, but they go with Wade. Thought that was kind of interesting. So, yeah, in this one, we're going to shoot through these first two games pretty quickly. There just simply wasn't a lot of offense. What was big for the Yankees, and they caught a break, was Carlos Correa was out of the series. He COVID IL as well. It's weird around baseball. A lot of COVID ILs this past weekend. Very odd how there hadn't been and now there is. Just strange at this stage in the game, but I digress. So, yeah, Yankees, again, Cortes, just amazing. Had Houston completely off balance. He doesn't really have that strikeout stuff necessarily, but he induces soft contact. So, in terms of Yankee chances, kind of few and far between in this one. They were 2 for 9 runners in scoring position. So again, bad in that department, but I'm not going to harp on that too much here and give it too much of a deep dive. Simply put, it was, I guess it was interesting that in the top of the second, you had a situation where it was first and second, 1 out, and Gardner flies out, Wade flies out. So a little bit of dead weight there at the bottom, but eventually they would come through in the top of the fourth. So in the top of the fourth, you get a 1-out single for Gleyber Torres. Then Rougned Odor beats out a double play. Then Gio Urshela singles. So it's first and second, 2 out. And much to my surprise, because you don't see this often, Brett Gardner, legitimate 2-run double down the right field line, ripped it. You usually don't see that from him. A really big base hit to give the Yankees a 2-0 lead, which they would not lose. Bottom of the fifth, they take Cortes out. And for Lucas Licky, and Licky has been struggling lately, but he was good in this one. I was nervous about this. I don't remember how I felt as it happened. I think I probably would have wanted Cortes to stay in. I bet you that was but the fact that I don't remember it, it helps that Licky did well. So that kind of changes it a bit. But Licky, gets the last out of the fifth and gets the 1, 2, 3 in the sixth. So encouraging for him, he had mostly had a good year, but it's been rocky the last couple of weeks. We move to the top of the seventh. Odorizzi's out. Good performance, 6 innings, 2 runs. And in the seventh, a 1-out walk for Gardner, and then a nice slap double down the third base line for Tyler Wade. They gave it to him. You're kind of a slap type hitter anyway, and that was good to see. Take advantage of that opportunity. So second and third, 1 out, and then a really nice at bat by DJ LeMahieu. Really worth the count, and he eventually gets a 2-run double. So that's it. 2-run double Gardner, 2-run double LeMahieu, 4-0. Then in the bottom of the seventh, they would bring on Chad Green. Chad Green to this point had been fantastic. Certainly in the last week, been really good. And that would continue in this one. Chad Green gives up a 1-out double to Kyle Tucker, but he is able to get out of the rest of the inning. And it's funny looking at this now, knowing that he fucked up so badly in the last game. I see here that Toro flat out. Toro would double in the last game. Jason Castro would line out. Jason Castro would single in the last game. So I don't remember how far those balls went, but they probably were pretty decently hit. In fact, I think that they were, if memory serves. So then Green pitches the eighth, gets Robel Garcia to strike out looking. He would be pinch hit for in that last game. Altuve would fly out. He would homer in the last game, and then Miles Straw would ground out. So good job by Green. And then Loaizaga. That Green-Loaizaga combination coming through again. Loaizaga just throwing smoke. Gets the 1, 2, 3 inning, and he strikes out Alvarez to end the game. He was throwing like 100. Loaizaga really had it going, but then sadly went on the COVID list after this game. So very weird, very strange. But let's move on to game 2. So Yankees take the first game. Second game, Gerrit Cole. Gerrit Cole was going to be basically the main, barring the fact that game 3 was just so fucked up, Gerrit Cole was going to be the main topic of conversation in this series. What he did in that second game was just brilliant, amazing, everything about it. And hey, his last 2 starts were not good at Boston and home against the Mets. And with all the sticky stuff, drama, definitely reason for concern. I mean, there'd be how could you not? But to see this has got to make you feel better. And his first start back at Houston, and in a really, of course, like a big start, nationally televised game on Fox, and he goes 129 pitches. That is the most pitches in all, that anyone's had in all Major League Baseball this season. 12 strikeouts, so the strikeout stuff was certainly there. Only 3 hits. Granted, no Correa, no Bregman, but even still, this is a great lineup. I mean, even without those guys, that is tough to navigate. So, and just what Cole did at the end of the game in that 9th inning, where Boone comes out there with 2 outs, and he said, "No, like, this is my fucking game. This is it." Like, and I think Boone went out there knowing that the end result was going to be Cole saying, "I'm not getting off this mound." I think Boone knew that. I think he was kind of trying to save face a bit. But yeah, this was one of the best performances that I've seen in a long time. And we saw Corey Kluber throw a no-hitter this year. This was so much better. Just with everything surrounding it. Simply fantastic. Like a classic, without a doubt. And in that ballpark, with a chance to win the series in a 1-0 game too. That's the thing. There was no cushion here. They needed him. And he performed amazingly well. So it would be Cole versus Greinke. 2 of the best pitchers in recent, in the last. I mean, certainly Greinke's been around for a while, but a bit of a classic matchup. And Greinke's had some success this year. He's gotten older, but he's still making it work. And Yankees had some chances in this game. Yankees 0 for 5 runners in scoring position, so held down a bit, but they had some opportunities, and they would finally cash in the top of the 3rd. Aaron Judge, solo homer, and that was the only run of the whole game. Now, what Judge does is when he goes to 3rd, he mocks Jose Altuve by basically, Altuve when he hit the walk-off home run off of Chapman in 2019 in the ALCS, because it seemed as if he had some sort of buzzer. I think it's fair to guess that and assume that. They tried to rip off his jersey because they were so excited, and he was like, no, don't do it. And so Judge did the same thing. Judge kind of, pulled his jersey in, and he would joke after the game that it's chilly in there. I mean, everyone knew why he did it, but he was, and at the time, as a Yankee fan, you love it. But then you get egg on your face with the result that ends up happening. But look, I didn't mind it at the time, but certainly in hindsight, it looks bad. But, Judge does that, and certainly got a lot of attention. But then the story shifts to Cole. And Cole was just amazing throughout the game. And, pitches a 1-2-3-8, gets a couple of strikeouts, and the 9th rolls around. In the 9th, he had already been at about 110, I want to say, or thereabouts. Like, he had already thrown a lot of pitches going in. And so, Chapman and Sessa were warming up in the 8th. Keep in mind, you got no Loaizaga, and you got no Green because he had pitched 2 innings the night before. So it was Chapman and Sessa warming up. And then Chapman would be also ready to go in the 9th, which was interesting just because, they don't trust Chapman right now. And, they didn't want to use him in this last game either. There's no, consistency. I don't really understand it. But there was a situation where Chapman was going to come in. If Cole got into any more trouble, Chapman was coming in that game, which is kind of interesting. Whereas they had no intention of bringing him in this last game of the series. But that's here nor there. Cole gives up a leadoff single to Jose Altuve because that's what he does in the clutch, especially against the Yankees. But then Michael Brantley has a great at-bat, unbelievable at-bat, and Michael Brantley eventually flies out. Cole wins that battle, but it wasn't easy. And then Yuli Gurriel, Yankees got lucky. 0-2, They call Gurriel out. The home plate ump says that he went around. He didn't. Gurriel did not go around. That should have been a 1-2 count. Instead, they ring him up. So, and that's when Boone comes out. And at this point, Cole is at about 126 pitches. And Cole just was cursing like crazy. He said he was just throwing out F-bombs and, he blacked out. It was a sight to see. But when you do that, you have to back that up, right? You can't do that and then give up a 2-run homer to Jordan Alvarez. What does he do? He just pumps 3 fastballs by him. And that was ball game. Just was really happy about that. That was great to see, and hopefully that could be a springboard for Cole for the second half of the year. Are there going to be bumps along the way? Sure, absolutely. But just the fact that he knows it. Look, he's a confident guy, but if he had any doubts, this is certainly reassuring to know that he can do this. So let's move to Game 3. The dreaded game, last game of a series for the Yankees. And with the sweep on the line, it is just unbelievable that they were not able to get this done here. And in this one, it would be Jameson Taillon versus Framber Valdez. Jameson Taillon is a forgotten man here. Taillon has been getting better lately. This is a really good outing for Taillon. So you got Cortez pitching well. You have Cole now with this great start. You have Taillon doing better. Domingo Germán in relief, I think pitched well, and we'll talk about that. And then Jordan Montgomery is Jordan Montgomery. He is what he is. And so with Severino and Kluber potentially back at some point, so the rotation, that's looking up again. Now, for me, it remains the offense. The offense is still the biggest issue here. And certainly the bullpen needs to get Chapman straightened out, and they need Zach Britton back. Once that happens, then the bullpen's in better shape. Until then, it's a bit risky, especially with Loaiza down on that COVID IL. That's not good. So Framber Valdez was struggling. I mean, he had 6 walks in 4 innings. And the Yankees only were able to muster up 3 runs, 2 earned, and 4 innings off of him. The Yankees were 3 for 16 runners in scoring position, left 14 guys on. That's completely unacceptable. There was a lot of opportunities this one, and it shouldn't have mattered, but it did. And, they would have chances early, and in the third, they would break through on an error where Sanchez gets a 1-out walk. Then he advances to second on a wild pitch. Luke Voit walks, and then Gleyber Torres would reach on a error by Robel Garcia, the shortstop, and Gary Sanchez scores. Makes it 1-0. But Martin Maldonado responds right away with an opposite field home run, the Astros' first run of this series, to make it 1-1. But then the Yankees respond right back with Tim Locastro hitting his first homer as a Yankee. And this would also be similar to Maldonado. Opposite field, just gets out. So great. Yankees take a 2-1 lead, exactly what they needed. And then in the 5th, it would be a Stanton single, a Voit walk, and then a Torres single. And Torres, it was a pretty decent series from Gleyber, but that power is gone for now. That power is completely gone. I mean, again, the guys hit 6 home runs in 2020 and 2021 combined. It is discouraging. Like, it sucks that, I have to put him down, even though he had some good moments in the series. That's just kind of how it is right here. Gleyber, I don't know, where it goes, but it's going to be a very big second half for him, no question. But he does get that RBI single, so it's 1st and 3rd. They take out Valdez, and the Yankees don't score again that inning. Urshela hits a fly out, but it wasn't deep enough to get Voit in. And then Locastro strikes out, and Gardner strikes out. That's not good, as you want to score as much as you can. Bottom of the 6th, Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker gets a solo shot, and that makes it 3-2. Taillon's day is done. He leaves with the lead, up 3-2. In the 7th, the Yankees tack on, and it was a good job, as it's a 2-out rally. Torres walks, and then still second. I'll say this about Gleyber. Gleyber's still second, his 6th steal of the year. He doesn't have much speed, but sometimes he is smart, where he'll pick his spots, and he'll get a steal. And that was a great one, because then Gio Urshela, who is definitely just Mr. Consistency on this team. He absolutely is. He is just kind of that steady Eddie performer, and he gets an RBI single to give the Yankees a 4-2 lead, opposite field, and a really good job there. And then Domingo Germán comes in the 7th. He strikes out Toro. Garcia flies out, and then he strikes out Maldonado. Germán looking good. as he had looked pretty good in that Mariner relief appearance besides the Tom Murphy home run. And then the Yankees really tack on in the 8th, and it seemed like at this point this could be it. So LeMahieu gets a 1-out walk. He advances to second on a wild pitch. Then Aaron Judge walks, and then Gary Sanchez on an 0-2 pitch, bad pitch, hits a 3-run shot. And Sanchez, in some ways, had been kind of struggling lately. The batting average had dipped into the 210s. But Sanchez, good job hitting that key 3-run home to make it 7-2. And the Yankees had a chance for more as Stanton would walk, Voit would walk, and then after Torres strikes out, Urshela walks, and then unfortunately Tim Locastro strikes out looking on a full count on a pitch that looked like it was a ball. This ump was not very good today on both sides. It was Yankees and Astros, completely all over the place strike zone-wise, and so that could have been a pretty big run that wasn't scored. Germán in the 8th gets it done. Altuve grounds out, Brantley singles, and then Jordan Alvarez hits a double play. So we go to the 9th. Yankees are up 7-2. What should be noted as well is they got 2 walks to start that 9th, Gardner and LeMahieu. Then Judge strikes out looking, and then Sanchez hits a double play. Who knew how big that would become? So in the 9th, Germán starts it, as he should. Now, you could have done 2 things here. You could have gone Germán, which they did, and I was fine with that, or you could have went Chapman with Green as a safety valve. See, at this point, you didn't want to go Chapman. Like, once you didn't start the inning with Chapman, you'd be hard-pressed to go with him later on. It's just, him with runners on base is a risk. You want him in a clean inning, and a 5-run game might have been the place to do it. So I would have, as much as I don't trust him, I could have been fine with that. But I was also fine with starting Germán. Completely okay with it. Here's how this goes down. Gurriel gets a lucky infield single. And that's a bad omen right there. A lucky, just nothing that Germán could do. Not his fault. Then a really good hitter in Kyle Tucker gets a double the other way. Okay, second and third. Not what you want, but not the end of the world either. And Boone pulls Germán at that point. And I didn't like that at the time. Was I up in arms? No. You're up 7-2. You should be able to find a way to make it work regardless. But come on. Like, it wasn't even a safe situation at that point. Like, after the game, it was like, yeah, it was a safe situation. No, it wasn't, Aaron. It was not a safe situation. Green, that would, if Green closed that game out, he would not have gotten a save. It wasn't that dire yet. It came off as a panicky move. And Green should have got it done. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. But Germán was doing just fine. He had, read the room. Have a feel. Like, he gave up a very unlucky infield single, and then a double to a really good hitter in Kyle Tucker. It happens. You know what? I'd be more concerned if he was walking guys and was kind of all over the place. He was in control. And I think he could have pieced it together a bit, but he brings Green in right then and there. And boy, did Chad Green not have it at all. At all. And what happens is Lucas Licky was the guy warming up. And while I'm glad that Licky pitched well on Friday, would I have loved him coming in? Not really. But I understand people being upset about Green staying in. Green had nothing. He had absolutely nothing. So I totally get that frustration, but you weren't dealing with anything great there. That's for sure. Germán, really, the play there was to just keep Germán in a little bit longer. So Chas McCormick gets a double and a 2-run double. Then Abraham Toro, his first double of the year. Jeez. He gets an RBI double on a tough play for Judge. No doubt about that. I mean, could he make the play? I guess, but it'd be a little unfair. And so it's 7-5 at this point, and like, you're in trouble. And then Jason Castro pinch hits. He dunks a single in there, hit decently well. And so now it's first and third, no outs, 7-5. Then Martin Maldonado hits like a humpback line to Glaber. Glaber does a very smart thing. He drops it, like he tries to get the double play, but you can't do that. And I get that. It's a rule that makes sense, but it was a very heads-up play. Glaber does have, at times, some pretty smart baseball IQ. Speaking of baseball IQ, first inning, DJ LeMahieu did a terrible job of base running. That gets lost in the shuffle. That could have been a very big first inning. But LeMahieu, like, on a wild pitch, tried to take an extra base to go to third. Awful. But in this case, Glaber, smart idea, but it doesn't work. And then Altuve comes up. And you had to kind of pitch to him, and he hits a 3-run homer. Poetic justice, as what the Yankees did in this game was when Locastro homered and when Gary Sanchez homered, they gave them jackets because, like I said, Judge had joked around like, "Oh, it's chilly in here," so they're having some fun with it. And so then Altuve hits a 3-run home run, and they rip off his jersey. Like it could not have worked out any better if you're an Astro fan. Perfection. As Altuve walks it off with a 3-run homer, the Yankee killer, symbolic. Just an absolute, like I said, gut punch. This one was. You're up 7-2 in the ninth with a chance to sweep going into the All-Star break. I mean, if you thought that Angel loss was bad, if you thought that Met loss was annoying and bad, yeah, I got this one for you. I mean, there's been a lot of just absolutely heartbreaking losses here. This is the top. We keep on saying, "Oh, worst loss of the year, worst loss of the year." Like, I don't know how it gets much worse than this, but stay tuned. It's Yankee baseball in 2021. So now we go to the break, and coming out of it, it'll be a 4-game series, home against the Red Sox. We don't know the Yankee rotation yet. I suspect it'll be something like this: Montgomery Thursday, Herman Friday, or Cortez. But I'll say they can go a number of different ways here. I'll say Montgomery Thursday, Herman Friday, Cole Saturday, Tyone Sunday, something to that degree. They can go a number of ways with it. And then for Boston, it's going to be Eduardo Rodriguez, Martin Perez, Nate Eovaldi, and Nick Pivetta. All night games. Thursday, interestingly enough, is the only game in Major League Baseball. It's an ESPN nationally televised game. And then Saturday night's a Fox game, and then Sunday Night Baseball on ESPN. So a lot of eyes will be on this. And then the Yankees play the Red Sox again for a 4-game set the weekend after at Fenway. So 8 games against Boston in the next 10. This is going to go a long way in determining where the Yankees go from here. It could have been really exciting, and I'm sure, in the midst of the series it will be, but Yankees are 0-6 against Boston. They got to rectify that situation because, again, what it really comes down to, too, it's not just the sweeps that they can't get. It is the bad AL East play of the Yankees. The Yankees have been very solid, very good outside of the division. Like I said, 4-2 against the Astros is good. Sweeping the White Sox is good. Taking 2 out of 3 from Oakland is good. And taking 3 out of 4 from Cleveland, I can go on and on. But the AL East has been really where the damage has been done. So this is going to be very interesting. And yeah, let's see what the second half holds. And I guess good luck to Aaron Judge and fucking Aroldis Chapman in the All-Star game.